Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Risen Esports Champions League. It's week number 5 in the race for playoffs, more tense than ever. Today, we're going to have Snowman Slammers looking to snowball their way through a 3-1 UC Berkeley that's hungry to avenge their week number 2 loss. Casting desk, my name is Eric Desrex Patran, followed by my co-caster, Switch. We're already getting to the Champion Select, so no more introductions. This is the first seed that can very much be on the line right now, given how hot these two teams are.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really just about bringing that consistency here into the middle of the season. As you can see, the bans already finished up. Any notable bans? Well, maybe the Janna one in particular. That one seems to be aimed, as well as the Soraka, seems to be aimed towards those enchanters that sort of wiggle their way into the top lane. Not going to happen this time around. And as a first pick, we are getting a hover of potentially the Graves coming through. I have actually been liking Graves a lot. I think junglers that have great scalings have seemed to found their place in the current meta. So I'm very appreciative of that, and it's going to be locked in.
But there's something big here. This is a Graves that was just buffed off this 10.5 patch, so he's going to have more base stats and more damage on the end of the line. But a big thing here is it's an Eric Z Yang champion. He loves to play Graves, so it's definitely a great pickup for him. Getting more into this matchup and the expectations for it. It is a really big matchup because UC Berkeley, this is the roster that they sent to DreamHack Anaheim and that they beat ASU when they sent that team to DreamHack Anaheim. So even though they've lost to Snowman Slammers in week number 2, you're definitely feeling a little bit of momentum coming into this match if you are Berkeley.
Certainly. I actually didn't even know about that heads up, but that's really cool stuff bringing it in. Looks like the Lulu is going to be here put as a response. We've been seeing a lot more solo lane Lulu, as a matter of fact, and that's going to be paired with the Jarvan. Already a decent combo to put right off the bat. You've got some flex with the Lulu as well, so either way, solid draft for the most part, and they get to secure the jungler. Of course, Jarvan into Graves, as long as he's able to land the knockup, it's a good matchup, but if perchance it gets dodged out by the Graves dash, then he's going to be in for a world of hurt, basically.
And honestly, this is a pretty nasty start coming out from the side of Snowman Slammers as well. Having that Graves that Eric Zhang's going to be great at. And not only that, but the Ornn and Senna going to be followed up with. But here's another big pick that's coming through for Berkeley. It's going to be Eugenium getting the Diana. You can flex it. I bet it's going to be on Eugenium, but this is a champion you can definitely show off with. It's one of the big champions in his DreamHack Anaheim victory.
I mean, now we see the meta slowly following the pick and ban. In the first couple of picks, it was really just pocket preference more than anything. But now we're seeing the Ornns and the Sennas run through, and both teams really coming out with a strong pick and ban. But honestly, I do favor Snowball Slammers a bit more. I mean, the Ornn and the Senna pair. The Senna, of course, flexible as well, and you've got a good early jungler. Yeah, the Diana is being locked in. That's why you can see some mid pinches already coming through for UC Berkeley. They're trying to make sure that she gets the best matchup possible, and she is a very snowbally champion if you can play around it. The mid jungle duo already looks quite fearsome, so waiting to see what that opponent mid laner is going to be from Slammers.
Yeah, so you're starting to see that focus come out towards the mid lane. UC Berkeley wanting to ban it away. Meanwhile, over on the side of Snowman Slammers, focusing the ADC pool, taking out the MF. Aphelios was banned out earlier. This does leave up something like the Zyra Khan, but that's usually taken within the first side of the draft, but is on the map, all things considered.
It really just bans towards essentially any mid laners that can carry. We know players with good mechanics can thrive when they're put on the Cassiopeia, the Orianna, but not going to be available this time. There's the Aatrox ban. We're going to head into the second ban phase. Shen actually going to be locked in right now. So Shen's been seeing a lot more play. Overall, this is a pretty standard draft, I would say, with the occasional pocket pick here or there. I love Shen because you can already see that there's the big potential to be able to pull off some 4-man dives potentially. If you go over to the bot lane, you add the Shen to the mix, 5-man dive, and it makes you able to dedicate to one side of the map. You can trade Dragon for Rift Hero, but overall win out bigger on those fights.
And with the Shen pick, it always throws me back. I know XT is probably in the crowd right now, but when I see an assassin in the mid lane like Diana, and when I see a Shen as well, I just think of the silly dives you can do if you're able to get some sort of lead. So I'm definitely liking the Shen pick paired up with the Diana as well, but Vigar getting locked in for Snowman Slammers all meanwhile.
Yeah, and it's going to be actually the Vagar and the Kassadin locked in, so it's looking like Vagar support, as a matter of fact. And the Kassadin mid, I expected to see the Kassadin mid here. Does relatively good into these AP matchups, and versus an assassin, you really just want to outscale it more than anything. I wouldn't take some of those early skirmishes, but the Vagar as well going to be a great answer to the Diana, because you get to bring in some of that big single target damage to the parties and hopefully punish her for going in. Final pick going to be the Kai'Sa, and that is the end of the pick and ban phase. So the bot laners going to be Senna Vagar versus the Kai'Sa Lulu. I actually think it might just be Vagar as the carry in the bot lane and the Senna support, because we've been seeing that much more often. Senna not taking any of the farm in lane. She's just going to be stacking up those souls while giving Vagar pretty much solo gold.
My biggest focus more than anything is going to be the jungle matchup, though. XU is an infamously aggressive jungler. UC Berkeley do pretty well in the early game thanks to him. But now you have Eric Zhang they're going against, who's on the Graves. And Graves has so much 1v1 potential and so much aggression he can really put on the map. Even with the stages of lane priority not going your way, Graves can be a huge factor in this game.
Yeah, and he puts a lot of pressure towards that scaling type of gameplay that works in line with the Kassadin as well. Ornn, you just mentioned every single member on the side of blue team, and it's going to have immense scaling to it. So honestly, having the Jarvan Diana mid jungle duo, yes, that's great to have in the early game, but it's about how productive you can be with it. It's about how much you can flex and how much you can gain just off of that sheer strength that they bring into the mid game alone, and hopefully get your advantage there.
Yeah, so it's going to be a pretty interesting matchup. Looking at the mid lane, the Kassadin versus Diana matchup, you know, the anti-mage versus the screw you if you're playing anything squishy in the mid lane. The bigger thing about that is not just the ability of these two champions to go against each other, it's their ability to roam. Diana and Kassadin are both very prominent roamers, so going back to that jungle matchup, I feel like their impact in the mid lane can really open up the mid game for one of these teams, and it's just all about who can work that mid lane first.
Right, we usually see the pattern for Diana just being shoving out wave. Now her mana costs are actually really low, so she could just keep spamming Q, making sure to shove that out, and then start to roam in tandem with the Jarvan. Like you said, could be working around some of those jungle camps, making sure they get the better of the jungle matchup. But as well, it ties into the Shen that they could go ahead and dump a lot of resources into the bot lane, get early tempo on that side of the map, give up top side, sure, but you overall gain more. You can get tower plates, you can get some of those early dragons that will start to scale better and better as the game progresses. So honestly, I like the comp from UC Berkeley. It's certainly giving a lot of respect over to the side of Snowball Slammers. Snowball Slammers, on the other hand, they really just have come with the game plan where if they can survive long enough, if they can play intelligent enough, they can sort of work their way into scaling through the game, starting to win out in some of these big team fights. And I think especially the Vagar Kassadin combo really makes so much sense to me. Vagar is so great at getting initial picks, and Kassadin is phenomenal at just taking over a team fight once you get a small lead. It's about the chase down potential, the ability to one-shot some of these carries once they're exposed. Even though he can't easily pierce into the backline, once he gets rolling, it is very hard to stop his damage.
Yeah, it gets very hard to stop his damage, but keep in mind he is a late game champion, and that is the theme of the Snowman Slammers right now. It's late game. The Kassadin, Vigar, Senna, even Ornn, they work so well in the late game. You're going to have to try and survive the early game with UC Berkeley, and that is the one of the big things about Berkeley. They love pressure in the early game, and their comp really reflects that with the Diana, with the J4, and even with the Shen, which enables much more aggressive play around the map. UC Berkeley, if they put on the gas pedal early, they can very much well win this.
Very excited to see how the startup is going to be. If we're talking about jungle pathing, for the most part, I think as the J4, you really just want to camp the mid lane, maybe give a little extra towards the bot side, but really leave that top side alone. Shen can really fend for himself. It's a tank v tank matchup. So even if Eric Z Yang decides to put a lot of attention towards that top side, sure, he may get the gold, but overall, you're not going to swing that 1v1 into any which direction you choose. It'll hopefully give Eric Z Yang some of those early Rift Heralds, but more than anything, I think the game plan for UC Berkeley is really just win out through the bot side and win out harder than your opponents.
Yeah, well, you heard it. A lot of this is going to be around that jungle matchup. Are you part of the Yang gang or the XU crew? Bet your Travy bucks. Put your money where your mouth is in the Twitch chat. We're going to be right back. This week, number 5 matchup, the Snowman Slammers versus UC Berkeley. Stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Risen Esports Champions League Snowman Slammers versus the UC Berkeley Monkeys. It's definitely going to be an interesting matchup. Interesting names coming out of these two teams. Snowman Slammers rings quite well off the tongue, actually.
Sounds chilly, though. If I had to pick anything to slam, I don't know if it would be a snowball. Also, who let monkeys into a university? Is that a thing? Yeah. You know how they have I'm sorry, I just got going on this. You know how they have like petting zoos, but like mini petting zoos in universities. It's actually where you can go and cuddle with dogs. It's like a de-stress for the students.
Mm-hmm.
Monkeys. It's the next thing.
Sure, I could go along with that. But now, getting along with the matchup right here, 5-point spreads, going to be both ways. A little bit of a deep board coming in early from the squad of the Snowman Slammers, but not much information is going to be had, and that early information, it's going to be quite critical for the early pathing of these junglers, really trying to scout each other out, as they're both high-impact early game junglers.
Certainly so. The Jarvan especially, having all that mobility and being able to do some of these bigger camps early. You often see him sneak a dragon or a Rift Herald just because he has that durability coming from his Aegis. So definitely have to keep tabs if you're the Graves. And obviously, if you are the Graves, balancing that out with just farming a lot. Scales very well with items, so the quicker he gets his build, the better.
And then watching the way the lanes play out is definitely going to be interesting. A lot of pressure going on in the bot lane with these trades very, very early on. Having that Lulu and Kai'Sa, it's kind of a very old school matchup where you're trying to, what they used to call it, raising the puppy, I believe the Chinese crowd used to call it, when you're just trying to buff up a single hyper carry.
Yeah, back when Uzi always used to be playing on the Kog'Maw and the Vayne, he used to be coined as the puppy, and they would basically just babysit him the entire time, feed him a little dog food here and there, and he would go on to carry the game. Yeah. This time around, I don't typically see Lulu as a support. Like I said, we've been seeing more solo lane. Oh, that's a bit of a dodge. Nice feat from Uncle Darian. He's not going to get stopped up by a dodge this time around, or gank rather, this time around. Yeah, have not seen it before, but honestly, the combo of Killer Instinct into Wild Growth sounds really good in team fights, but you're probably saving that for the Jarvan more.
And speaking of the Jarvan, both of these junglers are starting to go for those early ganks. I mean, we're seeing it more out of the J4 than anything. XCU has been known for that early pressure, early momentum, early aggression. He's an aggressive jungler in the early game is what we're getting at right here.
He's just going to be hovering over the river, going to secure that scuttle and go back off. You can see some early movement coming out of the bot lane of Snowman Slammers, as they did manage to shove out that wave and get a little bit of pressure. It's going to be just a trade of scuttles overall, and you can see the lanes starting to be controlled by either side. The Kassadin doing a good job of zoning out the Diana. She's going to have to be relegated to just farming with her Q.
That little rotation in the bot lane was quite interesting. They got priority, Jeremy Chu and Maggie. They're able to grab it and go get a scope of the jungle of XU. XU wasn't there, but it's still information gathered. You know that the wolves are there. You know that the Gromp is there. So you know that XU is going to be there soon. And what they do with that information is going to be the more perplexing part. Eric's going to take his recall right now.
And just getting some early items. Yeah, already had
Saber.
The Saber plus a dagger. So it's going to be increasing his clear, making sure he stays healthy as well. And overall, just helping him farm it out for the most part. Going to have that red smite in case he gets into a 1v1. Remember, the Graves versus Jarvan matchup. Just keep an eye on that flag and drag. That will really decide which jungler wins out on the 1v1. Uncle Derry in a bit of a bad spot, not going to land the knockup as well, and he is starting to get slowly chipped away.
So this is going to be a pretty good spot if some bot lane prio can come out of Snowman Slammers, just because you knew that you sent J4 towards the bot side to clear out his camps. Now he's going to be on that top side. It does give a window of opportunity to go for that Drake if you're still keeping tabs on where the J4 is pathing, but it looks like instead Eric wants to use that for an aggressive gank over in the mid lane. Trying to get that first blood. 300 health remains. Would need about 2 more autos. Puts out the end of the line. It's not going to be enough, though. Eugenium just barely able to survive. Okay,
so use the smite, the Skirmisher Saber smite, actually at the end of the gank. Didn't even get one auto attack proc off of it. So you got to think, if he had put it down earlier, would have got some of that true damage rolling. By the way, Uncle Derry going to get locked up. No, the Bellows Breath going to mitigate that.
No flag and drag will go through, but the taunt will find its mark, forcing the flash out of Uncle Derry, and the flash and teleport down. That's going to make it hell for Uncle Derry because he does need to take that recall. He is going to start missing out on some of the CS here.
Yeah, and look at the great wave manipulation as well. Legend on the Shen, making sure it's going to freeze towards his side. Now they're going to be shoving out Eric Yang. Watch the knockup, perhaps. Blasting cone.
Blocking the blast plant, but finally able to get it is Eric Yang. Eric Yang going to get caught by the flag and drag. Forced to dash away, will be underneath the tower, so he shall be safe. Eugenium was coming up there as well, so yeah. Eric Yang doesn't want any bit of that.
A very active play coming in this early on from UC Berkeley. Once again, like you mentioned, SRX, they're just very good at playing this early game. The rotation came from Eugenium, and he doesn't actually lose anything off of it. Was able to shove the wave out, rotate quickly, rotates quickly back over to his lane, and he gets every single one of those minions.
Yeah, now you got so much vision control over on that top side river coming out from UC Berkeley. Still, Rift Herald's going to be a while before it's back on the map. Say back on the map. The first time it's going to appear on the map. Still got another minute before it drops. So they well are prepared for that, but I feel like the early focus will be around this Ocean Drake more than anything else.
It certainly does benefit right now on the side of UC Berkeley. They got a couple good summoners out of the enemy top laner. As you can see, Uncle Derry, no flash to be had. As well, you've always got the Stand Unite to work with. So if a fight does break out around that Dragon Pit, one top laner is going to join and one top laner not going to be able to.
With this focus going on in the mid lane, Chaos has to be careful. He's trying to run a little bit low on mana. Those Rift Walks start to add up, and you can see it right there. Mana bar completely empty. Out comes the Stand United as well as the Cataclysm to score that first blood for UC Berkeley.
And reactions instantaneous from Legend Achiever. The ultimate was on point. They were able to mitigate a lot of that casting damage, and this was what we were talking about. Chaos Vermin, although he is starting to deal damage on the casting, you really just want to wait out. Do not want to risk giving gold over to Eugenium on the Diana. She gets one assist, but the trigger is pulled. Smite fight is won by the Jarvan.
Over the wall now, still looking to continue the fight. Will be the Snowman Slammers able to get the snare on the Priceless Wombat, who gets dropped by the Primordial Burst, excuse me. And still a dragon for a kill. It's something that UC Berkeley are going to be happy to give up.
And the Ocean Drake, that one, just going to be enhancing a bit of their early game, a bit of their early laning, giving sustain to each one of their laners, and that's going to be something nice to keep in mind. Jeremy Chu, though, he did manage to get the kill down there on the Veigar. As I say that, once again, the top laner is just beefing it out.
Just slugging, not really doing much of it to each other. Very slow fight right there. And oh, look at the setup right here. They don't know. It's going to be a three-man dive on the Priceless Wombat, who just came back from death. Mind you, as he falls to the collateral damage. Now Jason Hugh is all by his lonesome underneath his tower. It's starting to look like no man's land here. Jeez. Jeremy Chu will finish him off, and Jason Hugh goes down. Snowman Slammers focus on the bot side.
Killer proactivity coming out from Snowman Slammers. I mean, here's Chu.
Actually, showing up in the top lane. Easy kill picked up. Going to be something returned to Berkeley, but it was still a huge play and a massive amount of plates taken as well. Able to grab 3 in that exchange.
Yeah, let's talk about that bot lane lack of a dodge from the dive, because you actually had both sums available from Priceless Wombat. Didn't want to blow the flash at first, so he stays in the cage, uses his heal, takes too much damage, and even though at the end of the day he does blow the flash, he took too much damage from staying inside the cage. The end of the line got him on that one and sort of doomed his support as well. You can see Jason Hu during that dive as well, having both sums, but just never an option to be able to use it. That was the early Rift Herald taken by the Jarvan. As you can see, early game, still neck and neck, but right now you're liking the activity coming out from the Jarvan.
Yeah, XU's got to use this Herald quite carefully now, because this is the moment where Berkeley needs to start turning on. They need to start finding their kills. They need to find their map pressure. And Herald could open up one of these lanes to make it that much more deadly. Either going to focus on the top side or in the mid side. There's a recall coming out from both mid laners, so not going to find it just yet.
Oh, next dragon in around 2 minutes. Going to be the mountain. Uncle Derry getting very low up here. And just as I say that, XU once again covering around that top lane position. He wants another free kill. This time around, flash available for the Ornn. We'll see if a dive is actually executed, though. Right on top of the pink.
Uncle Derry will be able to place a ward, and I believe he's spotted out, yeah. Putting the pings onto XU. Still going to resolve on Yang, showing up towards the top lane as well. It's going to be a 2-on-2 exchange. All the Fortune comes out. Should find the double knockup, but going golden. Legend Achiever cannot go golden himself. So critically low, still able to walk away, but the collateral damage takes him down. And now Eric Yang still trying to win the 1v1. Will find the kill, make it 2-3-0-1 early is Eric Z Yang.
3 kills now in his pocket. What a beautiful 2v2 execute from Snowman Slammers there. Able to get, hang on, here's Eugenium. Gonna be the collapse with Eric Z Yang.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty tough to go through that one as the wild growth goes over towards the bot side, keeping Priceless Wombat alive, who are having a hard time surviving this Vigar and Senna lane.
I mean, Lulu in the laning phase really does not do you too many favors. Kaisa as well, merely a shadow of her former self, and just out of the straight 2v2s alone, they are going to be losing this bot tower. Uncle Derry now getting zoned out. He's in big trouble.
Oh, he's going in the complete wrong direction right now, but he might find the execute. There he is, gonna find it, and fight going on in the mid lane. All meanwhile, Eugenium looking to take down Chaos Bird and slashes him in half, and able to pick up the kill as well as the momentum in the mid lane, getting that priority towards the mid lane. There's no one to respond, so time to cash in on some plates.
Yeah, gotta ask the questions. Would Eugenium have been able to have that opportunity if he wasn't given that first kill in the laning phase? Either way, things moving quite rapidly for both teams. Shelly dropped. Not quite going to be the mid-tier 1 tower just yet, and Eric Z Yang wants revenge.
Oh, flag and drag, but the rest of the squad of Snowman Slammers are able to show up. Jeremy Chu will get out the Primordial Burst. Wow, I can't say that just in one word.
Yeah, it's the mental wall. Either way, XU going to be able to get out from that one. Just a 1-for-0 trade, or 1-for-1 if you're tallying it all in total. Either way, Dragon up, and both teams want a piece.
And Jason Hughes going straight.
Oh, wow.
He's able to flash away from the baby cage in time. Legend Cheever over the wall. Will be able to dodge out a lot of this damage. Vigar is there to bring that supplemental AP damage, slowing down Legend Cheever.
Wow.
Eric will destroy XU, as well as the rest of the squad of Snowman Slammers showing up to this fight, cleaning up everyone but Eugenium.
Eric Yang, what a crazy play. Had knowledge the entire time of where XU was sitting. He goes to get a bit of a kill of his own, and as a whole, Snowman Slammers, they're able to put their foot on the gas. This cage gonna allow Jeremy Chu to get out alive. The Dragon secured, and a 5,000 gold lead already secured for the blue side.
And Snowman Slammers, they're gonna have a very, very good time now, because Berkeley, they have fallen behind 5K in gold when they need a mid-game win condition. Now that Snowman have that gold lead, they're going to start turning on. They're going to get past that hump, and they should be able to run this through as long as they play it carefully.
I mean, they've been playing intelligently pretty much the entire game. Look at this 4-man rotation, though, coming out from the side of, you see Berkeley. They smell blood in the waters, but it's going to get reacted to quite quickly, and overall, just trying to secure a bit of vision. Perhaps get the jump on their opponents here.
Putting down the control ward, a little bit of vision battle inside of this jungle. Over the ball. Flag and Drag goes out. We'll keep XU alive, but you can see the pressure that Snowman Slammers are able to exert now that they have this lead.
The Veigar proving to be such a great tool. Performed well in the lane phase, 20 CS up and in now. As we're arriving towards the mid game, it's doing so many favors for you. It's a big threat to put down a cage, as you're not sure how much damage it could actually lead to. But either way, the mid siege is coming through. The cage as well going to provide very good zoning here on this one, and the push Overall, almost a success.
Oh, and it's so risky because if you get caught, the damage that goes through is legendary. Eugenium trying to turn it around, though, will fall to Chaos Vernon. The backside of that Vico and Golden will be Jason Yu as Price's Wombat is able to join up. We're able to bring in the autos to the Cataclysm, gets dropped. Eric Yang will bring the pain right back to XU. Stand United, bringing Legend Achiever in just at the very back end of that as Priceless Wombat has to flash away to be able to survive. Legend Achiever now on the run. Falls critically low and will drop to Meiji. And now the pressure is on. Snowman Slammers, the rift belongs to them.
And the push as well. They get the first mid tower. Gonna be knocking here on this second one, but the team fights played so well. Positioning, especially for Eric Z Yang, has been crucial. He's been able to keep up damage output pretty much the entire skirmish. Now to take the spoils of war, being this side of the jungle. Either way, the save points right now available for UC Berkeley are slowly shrinking as this last tier one gonna go down perhaps. Eugenium, he's here to respond. Might just save that tower. No.
Yeah, you hate to see it. That's gonna be every single outer down, which means more and more map control, more map pressure out of the squad of Snowman Slammers. And only 17 minutes into the game, they're off to a great start. Still Shelly available on the map, and that is the area where Eric Yang's about.
From the start, it was just intelligent play. I mean, you think back to that very aggressive dive in on the bot lane where they got the double kill. Priceless Wombat and Jason Hu both going down for that one. It was just Eric Z Yang getting a couple small advantages and able to push it over the edge. Now the second Rift Herald going to be started, as that one's going to be without a contest. Right now, UC Berkeley, yeah, it's very hard to stop them right now. UC Berkeley, they have to give up. The question is how much. They were supposed to be winning out on the mid game, and now really just losing out on options here.
One of the big things about this for Berkeley is just their wave clear is very short range. Kai'Sa's not a long range champion, and Veigar punishes that so well with the baby cage. It makes it so hard to defend against these sieges.
Yep. The killer instinct as well does not actually let you go over the baby cage. So as we do see a disconnect, the seamless transition.
But now,
oh yikes, that's not seamless.
That's not a fun place to pause. It's
we'll be right back.
A little bit of a meme, kind of the bet you're wondering how I got here.
Yeah. Or like from Everybody Hates Chris, he just pauses.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's definitely been a rough game for Berkeley. They needed an early game lead to be able to do well in this matchup. They needed to snowball that into the mid game and then find their victory there. And it's all falling apart just because of that early pressure we saw from Eric Z Yang. 4-0-6. He was the early game MVP. The bot lane performed well as well. So This is all coming together pretty much textbook for Snowman.
That's right. Perhaps they have snowballs. Either way, for UC Berkeley, they just really did not utilize all the opportunities, perhaps. I mean, first of all, their bot lane constantly being shoved in. And even though at that point you think, oh, well, if the enemy bot lane is pushing, maybe we can gank them. The problem is they are just so strong at avoiding some of these ganks. The baby cage combined with Senna's Shroud makes it very easy for the duo to get out alive from some of those skirmishes. Also, they were just straight out winning some of these 2v2. So when you would come down there would be a loss of summoners. Priceless Wombat, especially throughout the lane phase, unfortunately losing out on those. We're getting right back into the action. XU, can he make a miracle happen? Well,
and the answer is no.
Disappearing act, so
that's a magic trick, not a miracle.
True.
And I mean, technically, he just went to the respawn, you know, take a nap, take a break, and time out for a good 20 seconds.
As if he didn't have enough
rethink
of a break.
His internet.
How do you rethink an internet?
But now, Snowman Slammers, top side, dropping down Shelly. Not much Leverage Achiever can really do about this. There's just so much pressure coming out from the Snowman Slammers, and it's pretty much insurmountable right now. Still going for the engage, but you have to deal with the baby cage. Here comes Call the Forge God. We'll find the knockup on the Eugenium, who's forced to flash out of the baby cage to be able to stay alive. No one going down, but Infernal is now on the map. On a map that happens to be Infernal. Can't give too many of these up, especially on a team that scales like Snowman Slammers. Just look at the Vigar.
Yeah, this is getting very dangerous. TP used from Eugenium. They want to find engage baby cage as the block.
XU try to get away. He will be able to drop the Cataclysm, but it's not going to be enough to be able to get his team into this fight. Down goes the Dragon. Eugenium diving for the backside, and here comes Priceless Wombat. Health bars are too low, though. The cleanup crew is here, and Chaos Vernon is able to dismantle the remaining members of UC Berkeley, scoring himself a triple kill, as well as the ace.
And too many threats alive here for the side of Snowman Slammers. They did a great job of securing that early Dragon. They go ahead and play the team fight by ear, and as a whole, just the Vagar buying a lot of time with the stopwatch. Senna able to kite over to the bottom side, and Eric Ziyang once again in the thick of things, but crucially never actually dying. They are able to dump out DPS the entire time, transition this lead over to the Baron, and this game, although it's only 20 minutes in, is looking very dire right now for UC Berkeley. The escape is not available, perhaps, as XU gonna go over.
He already dropped that flag and drag, so he drops in this attempt to steal the Baron. And now Baron over to the Snowman Slammers. What can you do to stop them? There's not much of an answer. It would take the most perfect League of Legends play possible to be able to get out of this.
And although the tools are technically available for UC Berkeley, they've just never been given the opportunity. And part of that is just great play coming out from Snowman Slammers. I mean, they've done a great job of spreading out. Uncle Derry having great positioning, able to zone and therefore disconnect the back line from the front line. Well, as a whole, it's just been a great cohesive team fight that's been consistently coming out from Snowman Slammers. Right now, your only hope is perhaps a flag and drag into a 5-man Cataclysm into the Wild Growth, and then maybe then you can start to get some resemblance of a cleanup going for yourself, but I don't know if they're going to be given this opportunity. 1-3-1 execute. Eugenium, he's got to fight this.
He's got a lot of damage as well, and here comes an engage in the mid lane. All meanwhile, Cataclysm used on the back line. Still trying to escape from this Priceless Wombat. Will go down, and Jason Hugh is going to look to follow him. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Eugenium fell. Legend Achiever will also fall. Another ace goes through, and with a Baron up siege coming down the mid lane, this is going to look to be game number 1, handed over to the Snowman Slammers.
Yep, didn't have to do the NA-RAM to get the clean 5-man ace. 22.5 minutes in. And Snowman Slammers with a very dominating victory. They drafted for a late game, but they come out swinging here in this early game.
I mean, let's take a look at that real quick. 551 AP on Jeremy Chu.
Ooh.
That is disgusting. He only has 2 completed items as well. And speaking of completed items, there's only 1 completed on Priceless Wombat. That bot lane got destroyed for UC Berkeley.
It was really not competitive from the start. I mean, Kaisa with a lackluster laning phase, Lulu as well. You put them together, what do you get? Well, a very, very lackluster laning phase, let's just say. They were constantly giving up lane priority. That's what allowed Jeremy Chu and Magi to go rotating around, going into some of the deeper parts of the jungle, making it much easier to track XU. And when it came down to it, they also earned the first tower of the game as well. Basically, made Eric Ziyang's life much easier as he started to control the game. 6-0-11 for the Graves, and a 1,000 gold bounty to end it as well.
Yeah, and did the most damage in the game. We talked about how that early game really hinged on him. It did, and he showed up and he performed. Eric Yang doing very, very well in this game, number 1. And overall, Snowman Slammers off to a great start to continue their 2-0 domination of every team in Division 2. Will that continue? We'll find out as we take a quick break and return for game number 2 of the Snowman Slammers versus UC Berkeley Monkeys. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Risen Esports Champions League. Snowman Slammers versus UC Berkeley Monkeys. We're already headed back into draft. This time Berkeley on the blue side. Starting off with the Soraka ban, interesting enough.
Yeah, the recurring ban from game one, just making sure that once again, no abusable champions go up into some lanes they do not belong in. But either way, that last game, man, gosh, oh gosh, Snowball Slammers making UC Berkeley look like a couple of snowmen because they got slammed. That was actually just didn't even hit the 23-minute mark, just a very quick victory for themselves. And really, you got to credit that a lot to the bot lane, but also Eric Z Yang, right? There's a reason why this guy garners so much attention. There's a reason why Snowball Slammers or Snowman Slammers as a whole picked up the Graves as the first pick. It's when you put this champion in the right hands, you can actually just do some really dominating stuff on it. We got to see it firsthand, and now the side of UC Berkeley in such a difficult position right now. They picked for early game versus a late game composition. They lost it. So what do you do now? Do you go early game? Do you just ban out as many junglers as possible? Maybe you go a very early jungler of your own to try and combat Eric Z Yang 1v1. We'll have to wait and see as we get right through these first bans.
So the band that's coming to mind right now, Graves being one of them,
Yeah, that one makes
already
sense.
taken off. One of the big ones I'm thinking about is the Thresh. And there's a reason for this. It's something Jason Hugh is very, very good at, and it's put on some immaculate plays on. But if you first pick Thresh, you leave up so many power picks for the side of the Snowman Slammers to take. So this is on my mind right now. They are leaving the Thresh up, so they are trying to do that bait.
And actually, the Veigar band on the side of Snowman, as they don't want it going into the wrong hands. And like you said, the question does prompt over to the side of UC Berkeley. Are they going to go for the Thresh or perhaps just pick something else that could function better? The Lysandra actually getting picked up here. Yeah, these first picks are just wild to me. Like the Grace was one thing. Okay, that's a pocket pick. The Lysandra, like I rarely ever see Lysandras, but here is the response, of course. Ornn going to be the first lock in for Snowman Slammers, a very fitting one, as Ornn has been everywhere, and the Yuumi as well.
So I'm very interested where this is going now, because you take something like a Yuumi, you're usually kind of implicating you're going to go something, say an Ezreal that works really well with Yuumi.
Yep.
Even Sivir, who was recently buffed, also works really well with Yuumi. Instead, Berkeley are going to stick over with the Lulu pick. They want to go with the Enchanter support. The ADC is very, very critical at this phase because Yuumi works well with very select ADCs. She can really fumble with others.
Yeah, completely agree. Really favors more of those attack speed oriented AD carries. The only problem is right now, most attack speed focused AD carries, they don't actually perform well in lane. We saw it firsthand in that last game. This time, Tristana picked up. Once again, not the most glamorous of lane phases. You do have a bit of all-in potential, and I will say your gank assist does seem a bit more promising than when you compare it with the Kai'Sa, who's really just trying to catch up during most of these ganks. We'll have to wait and see. Either way, the Olaf going to be the final pick for the side of Snowman Slammers. They give Eric Z Yang, once again, another early impact jungler for him.
Yeah, so Yang able to grab that Olaf before the phase is over. But this is going to leave the ADC pool to be pinched out. Given the way things went before, they didn't even care to throw an ADC into that bot lane. So
yeah.
Probably don't care if it gets too pinched out in this case. But as I said, ADCs that work well with it would be something like an Ezreal or Sivir. Orianna getting banned away, focusing in the mid lane coming out of Berkeley.
Yeah, right now, at the very least, you don't have to worry too much about the Lulu Tristana just because the Yuumi was already locked in. So assuming that's going over to the support position, which it has to go over to the support position, lane phase isn't going to be a kill lane, at least. It'll be annoying. It will definitely be annoying because Yuumi still does a good chunk of damage with her Qs, but it's not going to be as bad as we saw game one. So you've got that to look forward to if you're UC Berkeley. The last ban going to be the Xayah, making sure it doesn't go into the hands of Jeremy Chu. But Either way, we're off to the second pick phase. The Jarvan taken away, so I'm still waiting to see what jungler is going to go for UC Berkeley.
Ooh, and this Varus hover is very interesting to me. Could work really well with their composition as well, especially
Yeah.
you get that mid-game team fighting going. The Chain of Corruption paired with Call of the Forge God could be really absolutely devastating. And Trundle going to round out for the side of Berkeley. Interesting to take the Trundle there, looking to really steal those resistances from the Ornn and trying to make him a non-factor, especially if you do go for those early dives. Once you get that level 6, it can make that top lane hell, but you need a lot of priority in that top lane, so this next pick is going to be big.
I mean, we saw a lot of camping coming out from XU in that first game, just never came to any fruition. I'm waiting to see what that last top lane pick is going to be. Not something that can snowball or take advantage of Ornn's big health pool, but it is once again something that will cover you pretty much across Summoner's Rift, right? That Stand United is going to make it much easier to deflect some of these dives that we saw coming out game 1 from Snowman Slammers. However, I think Snowman Slammers, they've just had such a solid draft thus far. They've got a great front line. You can see the Varus Yuumi are going to have a good laning phase, actually. They both bring that poke to the party. They're going to be able to backline properly as well. You get the Ardent Sensor very early on for the Yuumi, and finally the Victor to really round it all off. So a very intuitive draft. It's very natural to play it out. It's front to back. You've of course got Eric Ziyang in the thick of things, performing very similarly to how he did on the Graves, and as a whole, they check all the boxes. They have the engage, they have the follow-up as well, and of course they've got the burst in the backline.
Yeah, right now I'm really wondering about Berkeley's composition, where they're planning to go with this as a whole. It does seem rather disorientating. I'm kind of imagining some sort of a split push setup. I want to see what Eugenium goes for as a summoner spell to really start to figure this out. But the big thing that does pop out to me the most is going to be the bot lane, because Tristan and Lulu are both pretty good at pushing. Trundle is pretty good at tower diving, and Varus is pretty good at getting caught. As a champion, and Yumi's not going to add too much to that. So I do feel like that's a power point for UC Berkeley to go after. Just focus on that bot lane.
And the Stand United plays to that strategy as well. So certainly a win condition for themselves there. I'm hoping the Tristana play is going to look comfortable, because obviously Tristana, I mean, we don't see it very often, but as long as Priceless Wombat understands that, you know, a lot of that damage is actually tied to the rocket jump and how to properly use some of these reset mechanics, as long as it just is a smooth and natural setup for the Tristana, I think it could actually pan out quite well. That combos well with the Wild Growth. When you talk about team fights, the Lissandra combos well with the Wild Growth as well. The problem is, this is a promise that we were given at the beginning of game 1 as well, where there was a Wombo combo available for UC Berkeley. We just never actually saw it come to fruition, whether that be through lack of coordination from themselves, whether that be through good counterplay coming out from Snowman Slammers. It just never quite connected. And I do have some fears in the back of my mind that it might not connect this game as well.
Well, the big thing that stands out to me is there's just not that much damage on Berkeley's composition. Tristana does take a while before she turns online. Lissandra is not really that high on base stats, not that high on AP ratios as well. She's just more of the utility mage that's meant to lock down and control an area. This doesn't scream damage, but over on the side of Snowman Slammers, it screams teamfight. It screams let's go. There's so much that can lock down UC Berkeley from escaping any of the fights, any of the forward momentum that comes from the Snowman Slammers. So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm not liking Berkeley's composition, and I'm hoping there's something I'm missing here.
Yeah, I really hope so too, to be honest. I've never seen Lissandra as a primary engage. I just don't think it's possible for her to function that way. She needs something to enable it. And sometimes you can find a way around it. Let's say the side of UC Berkeley finds an advantage and they're able to control the Dragon Pit. Well, that sort of forces your opponent to walk into you. Then maybe Lissandra can get a great setup going for herself. The only problem is banking on an early lead is not a bet that I would take if I saw the last game for the side of UC Berkeley. not something that comes to mind. Once again, you're lacking engage, while on the other hand, Snowman Slammers, they don't lack any engage at all. They have some of the best engage you can get. The Oran Horn, as well as the not corrupting arrow, chains of corruption. And the follow-up as well. I mean, the final chapter does a great job of comboing off of that. Olaf and Victor getting their burst down as well. It just all syncs up perfectly well. It's not impossible by any means for UC Berkeley, but as of what we've seen right now, we're just hoping that they sort of sharpen things up so that they really get that coordination that they need to pull off some of these high skill team fights.
Yeah, what I'm mostly hoping for Berkeley is that this does end up being a 1-3-1 comp, because if you do play it that way, it's very hard to catch out the 3 in that composition. Trundle is great at disengage. Tristana has the rocket jump. Wild Growth you talked about. It would be, yeah, it'd be a challenge. The Shen, of course, in the top lane, one of the best split pushers to have utility-wise. And then Lissandra has a lot of mobility for escape, so I can't imagine this being 1-3-1. Just depends on if Eugenium does take the teleport or not. I am favoring Snowman Slammers, but right now it's really up in the air. Only time will tell. We'll have to get onto the Rift, and we are going to throw it over to a short break. When we return, we'll get into this matchup. Match point for Snowman Slammers. Do they close it out here, or do UC Berkeley have something to say about it? Stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, of Risen Esports Champions League. matchup right now. Snowman Slammers versus UC Berkeley Monkeys. And we have very, very interesting compositions here because one, we have a kind of one size fits all over on Snowman Slammers. It's a comp that just works when it team fights, works when it skirmishes. You can even get a bit of a split going on it, somewhat. And since we're talking about split, 1-3-1 is the name of the game for Berkeley. And that is going to be a very hard condition to get given what we saw in the early game last time.
Yeah, you combo the fact that we don't favor them for the early game, along with the amount of engage available for Snowman Slammers. I mean, that's just another big thing to worry about because if you're engaged, if you're trying a 1-3-1, engage is pretty much your worst fear, right? Either one of your side laners get caught out too early on, or your 3-man in the mid lane gets caught out and you lose massively. You lose out on mid priority, and then it turns into some sort of base race situation. It's just problems you never want to actually encounter. But unfortunately, right now, the 1-3-1, it's going to be very difficult to execute. Much like how we said team fights would be difficult to execute. It's high skill cap. And right now, for the side of UC Berkeley Monkeys, we're just hoping that they can pull it all together in a marvelous way.
Yeah, you're going to need that early control, that early macro for UC Berkeley. See if that's what they're going to be able to get. Eric Yang, who's been quite a bit of an MVP. He's actually a bit of a journeyman when it comes to these amateur organizations. He's played in Player One, UPL, Big League, was in the Scouting Grounds qualifiers. He's been around the amateur scene quite a bit.
I mean, you can see why. He just puts on massive pressure there in the early game. Going to be keeping our eyes on him, but either way, the lane phase it starts and the poke, it's being dished out. Jason Hu taking a heck of a lot of damage.
Yeah, that punish coming in early. Jeremy Chu and Magi able to get the better of that so far. It's one of the lanes where you do need a bit of priority, where you are going to need to shove that in, but the poke is there, especially if you can get that early damage in from the Yuumi and be able to bring that shield over to the Varus. You really don't stand much to lose when you start doing exchanges.
Right. It's just very easy to execute on. Right now, we might see a similar story in the bot lane where pressure is going to be given over to the Varus Yuumi and they can perhaps secure a Skull Crab early, maybe get a bit of deep vision. This is an invade.
An invade coming in onto Eric Ziyang. XU wants to get some revenge. He's looking to give Eric Yang his first death of the series, but it's completely turning around because we know what happens when you have that low health Olaf. He attacks faster, he attacks more relentless. Wow. But here comes Eugenium to take it away from him right in front of his eyes. First blood going over to UC Berkeley.
And what a clutch play from them as well. That looks so scary early on for XU. He engages in the 1v1. Then you go ahead, mouse over Olaf, and you're like, wait a second, this guy gains attack speed when he loses HP? Hang on a second. You get the Trundle walking away, but finally Eugenium comes in for the clutch kill. First blood into his pocket, and overall, Snowman Slammers, they are sent aback.
And this is going to be nice, too. Eugenium's going to have so much mana and harassment to work with early on Chaos Vermin at a time where Chaos should be harassing him and should be controlling that lane. So Eugenium is going to take that with a breath of fresh air, but Eric Ziyang still in the area, so keep an eye out on him. Actually, going for a gank right now, coming around the backside. Have to watch for the claw. Eric Ziyang trying to outplay this. We'll be able to get some damage in. Eugenium will be able to escape.
A pillar as well, just a bit of a goodbye present, but overall the gank certainly endured from Eugenium. He's going to be able to regen a bit better with that red buff and overall still control some of this wave. Going to be going back and forth for the most part. The deficit, we didn't expect to see it for Eric Ziyang, but I'm sure he's right back on the horse. This early game still looking quite promising for the Olaf. Can have his way doing a bit of solos on some of those objectives like the Riptail, like the Dragon. Certainly have to keep tabs on him if you're the side of UC Berkeley.
And that's one of the big things about the Olaf is his neutral objective control. especially if you find some lane priority.
Ooh.
Not just neutral objective control, but ganks as well. He can slow you for days, and forcing out the flash right there from Legend Achiever Eric Z. Yang. The successful gank at the top lane.
Flash out. And that's going to be the end of that one. Just a very quick in and out coming from Eric Z. Yang. And we saw him do, or rather, we saw XU do a very similar thing last game where came through with the Jarvan, got the summoner once, and came back for a return gank. We might see that for Eric Z. Yang, but either way, he's going to put a lot of prioritization on that farming, as you typically do see from this guy.
Getting back to a point that was said earlier is one of the big things about Olaf is neutral objective control, but hold that thought because we still have another fight breaking out. Jeremy Chu gets polymorph, but still continues the fight. Will be forced to flash away while getting ignited critically low on the HP pool. But that lane priority that we're seeing right there, all that control, all that aggression from Berkeley is with the purpose of setting up that Drake that just got taken from XU.
You're very well done from the side of Berkeley. The 2v2 going in their favor, as well as that Dragon Mountain secured early, and they're looking to be setting up a bit of a play. Eric Z. Yang in the area, but not in the immediate.
This is your worst nightmare if you are paired with a Yuumi, because it does feel like a 1v everyone dive.
Oh boy.
The backup is now here for the Snowman Slammers, going after XU. XU diving forward, gets a big shield, but will still fall to Chaos. One for one trade thus far. Uncle Derry jumps in and gets a double. And now, finding the knockup, he's completely regretting his decision because Priceless Wombat makes him pay for it. Legend Achiever now critically low as Jeremy Chu trying to pick off whoever he can, but Chaos Verdin with the laser finds his mark. Jason Hugh flashes forward, trying to help his ADC survive. Will it be enough? There comes the rocket jump, and there comes the kill for Priceless Wombat. He's not done. He wants to make it 3. A slither of health remains as it's turned on its head, and Magi will finish up a incredibly disorienting fight.
Oh, a bloodbath by this Dragon, overall secured by the side of UC Berkeley, but not without a fight. The last man stand, the last cat standing, Yuumi on that one, and I really don't know what to make of that fight overall.
All over the place.
That was the wild series of events right there. Takeaway messages though: 3 kills onto Priceless Wombat. I thought he played that skirmish very well. Looks like a comfortable Tristana player. On the other hand, you could say great things about Snowman Slammers as well. They have 3 kills onto Chaos Vermin. Both backliners set up already this early on in the game.
Priceless Wombat's loving that BF sword right now, especially after all that pressure.
Very nice.
To come in the bot lane from Jeremy Chu, but here comes another invade. We've definitely seen this one before. Eric Yang starting to get the better of it, but now too low backup is here. XU will take down his nemesis. Chaos Vernon showing up, tries to get the steal, comes up empty-handed, but from the flank will come Eugenium. Chaos Vernon takes the safe road home.
Well, XU with a deja vu play right there. This time around, though, it's the challenging smite versus the chilling smite. So you're gonna favor that over to the Trundle. He's able to get a lot of single target damage. His, of course, laner comes to the rescue as well, and they make that a very easy pick. Gonna transition that over to the Rift Herald, and overall, quite the snowball that's starting to take place right now. It's the side of UC Berkeley coming out with the confidence here.
Yeah, now going after Uncle Derry. A gank coming in from XU over on the top side. This gank has great timing because just picked up was Shelly. So they are going to be able to drop that. Teleport is down. Instead, choosing to back out instead. Not going to drop Shelly just yet. Instead, headed towards the mid lane.
Yeah, so close to working out on that, but the wave not in the proper position. XU not trying to test his luck this time around, but he is still living in the enemy's red side. We'll see if the collapse comes through. Victor and Olaf hovering around, but he's going to make it out safe and sound.
And now that they're level 6, it makes this much more interesting, as we're going to see right here. Gank comes in, cannot get the snare, actually able to find it on the backside, but a lot of damage on XU. XU forced to back away, taking too much damage. The flash forward out of Eugenium finds the shutdown onto Chaos Vernon, and now it's time for Shelly to hit the rift as Priceless Wombat dives in. Here comes the Stand United. The root is there from the final chapter, and able to escape will be Jeremy Chu and Magi.
A beautiful repel play from Jeremy Chu and Magi as well, and they're able to deflect that one. The mid tower getting sieged upon by Shelly, and as a whole, the play still going in favor right now for the side of UC Berkeley. They're coming out with the right answers here. That is going to be rather the Inferno coming up in around 30 seconds. You can see already priority in favor for Snowman Slammers. They're looking to get a collapse here, perhaps.
Yeah, but no chain of corruption, so they don't have the lockdown to really grab that Shen. So yeah, Drake will be spawning soon. That will be the next big point of contention, that Infernal you were just talking about. Scuttle was picked up earlier for the side of Berkeley, so it's going to be very hard for Snowman to try and sneak it, try and find a way to get onto that Infernal without Berkeley's knowledge. So Berkeley will have some advantageous control this side of the river.
Whew. Well, Chaos Vermin starting to sting a bit. I'm very optimistic for the Victor damage in team fights. There's a flash of blown respect given over. Eugenium just pulling the trigger time and time again. That in tandem with XU is putting a lot of pressure on the mid lane.
Yeah, and Chaos is in a bad spot now because Cleanse is down, as well as his Flash being down, and look what's up. It's the Frozen Tomb. There's going to be no way to escape that at this stage. There's going to be a lot of burst damage coming in now that Eugenium, with that 3-1-3 scoreline, has his Luden's Echo. Infernal picked up Berkeley.
Yeah, part of the reason why Snowman Slammers just gave that one over for free. Other reason why, perhaps the positioning of Eric Z Yang. He's farm Krugs right now, and definitely sticking to his guns here in the top side. He's been at it time and time again, but not quite many results to write home about.
Oh, and here we go, the Frozen Tomb. It comes out. It is not blocked by any cleanses, so Chaos knows he has to fight for his life, but his life is taken by XU. Oh, and it's not over just yet. The fight going in the bot lane. Wild Growth able to get the knock-up Priceless Wombat continues his relentless aggression on Jeremy Chu, getting them critically low, but a nice juicy heal to come in from Magi. And now from the backside of the tower, looking to show up is going to be XU.
Oh boy.
XU will hop over, opting not to fight. Eric Z Yang was in the vicinity.
Gonna be taking his red. XU just getting the scope of the situation, but overall, the entirety of UC Berkeley performing well. The mid lane especially. Eugenium, just time and time again, finding these small picks, finding these small engagements, and able to get leads from that. Priceless Wombat still reaping the rewards of that early skirmish where he got the 3 kills. He's now starting to control the lane very handily, pushing back Eric Chu, or Jeremy Chu rather, and Magi. And in the top lane, I mean, nothing's happened, but nothing really needs to happen in the first place. This is really just 2 tanks farming up and scaling into the game. But right now, you gotta feel slightly better for Legend Achiever. He's going to be coming in with the Stand United and either embracing Eugenium or Priceless Wombat. Either way, he's going to be put in the perfect situation, in the perfect position to perform well in these team fights.
Speaking of a fight, one breaking out right now. Eric Yang waiting to help his top laner, Uncle Darius, wants Chaos Vernon to zone out. And some of that stun control. Here comes Call the Forge God. A lot of damage onto Yang. Yang forced to flash away. Flash for flash as XU runs away as well. But Legend Achiever will take down Uncle Derry. Getting stunned up, rooted. Eric Yang will go down to Eugenium. Now Eugenium on the hunt. Brings the ghost of Eric Yang with him. And here is XU. Oh. There's the shutdown. Beautifully marked onto Eugenium.
Jeremy Chu with the burst damage that at least lessens or dulls the blow. But there he goes, getting caught out. XU getting the wild growth as well. And here's the collapse.
He comes in. Here comes Priceless Wombat looking to fight Chaos Vernon, but so much crowd control comes in. So much AoE damage from Chaos Vernon. And now the teleport is going to come through. Berkeley on the full retreat.
Another.
Mark Jeremy Chu. Goodness gracious, he's a sniper, man.
Another beautiful arrow from Jeremy Chu, and that is once again gonna even us out here. It's the side of Snowman Slammers not giving up without a fight and not trying to stand down at all. They're fighting for every bit of vision that they can get. And although they get pushed back into their own side of the jungle, they're still going toe-to-toe. That's what you like to see. Either way, right now, Eugenium especially, I think just playing with so much confidence and so much skill as well. That Lysandra is finding so many opportunities for her team, and that's going to get better and better. The punishes are going to get bigger and bigger as the game progresses. Once you finally get Priceless Wombat into his late game status that you want to see, the front line as well finally getting bolstered up is going to be many great things. But either way, for now, first things first, another Rift Herald going into the hands of UC Berkeley. Their objective control this game has been phenomenal thus far.
Ooh, Legend Achiever has to be careful here. Chain of Corruption goes out. Chain of Damage on the Legend Achiever. Not going to be able to find the kill, though. Legend Achiever will be able to walk away. Still underneath the tower. Tries to find the piercing arrow. Will not get it, but will find control of this side of the map. But meanwhile, over on the top side, a lot of control coming out from Berkeley as they use a momentous push over on this top side.
Yeah, we love how quickly Tristana can push some of these objectives. The tower already taken down. There's the recalls coming through, and in a flash, that top lane push is over. Meanwhile, Jeremy Chu just trying to get something in response, just trying to keep up with the pace that UC Berkeley is setting for themselves. It is going to work. This timing, though, perhaps not the most ideal. You might want to get a buy here for Jeremy Chu, but a bit too close to this next dragon. Up in around 10 seconds. It's going to be Klaus for the rest of this game, and Eric Ziyang already in the right position.
Ooh, and this is going to be advantage going over to Berkeley because they were able to get the reset. They were able to get the recall and cash in on those items. Now they just need the map control. They've been controlling most of these team fights thus far, but do not slouch on the composition of Snowman Slammers. You still got the split push coming out of Legend Achiever. A little bit of time left on Stand United. Will be available for this fight, and the battle lines are drawn.
Snowman, they know they have to pull the trigger here. The split push start from the Shen, going down quickly.
Over the wall, here comes XU trying to find the Drake. No, it will be picked up by Eric Yang. Call the Forge God goes out. Jason, you having to go golden, but on the front line, the battle continues. Jeremy Chu will find his mark. He'll find another, and so will Uncle Derry. Full retreat for UC Berkeley. They didn't draft a composition for team fighting. They drafted it for split pushing. Who's got the team fight? It's going to be the Snowman Slammers as they take it, as well as the Drake.
And a natural fight that suits Snowman Slammers perfectly, front to back. Jeremy Chu practically untouched that fight, and Chaos Vermin able to reach forward and get some of that crucial damage down. XU, even though he did get a very good subjugate off, still got shredded in a flash. Just goes to show you cannot underestimate the backline of Snowman Slammers. This game still very much up in the air, but that's going to be the cloud secured for Snowman.
And I mean, very early in that team fight, members of Berkeley were low. Chaos Vernon, as well as Uncle Derry, just had so much zone control with their abilities. Yeah. And Berkeley, they can't take an outright 5v5 team fight with Snowman. They have to play the map to be able to take a victory here.
And we saw the Shen going up towards the split push, but it was an instantaneous reaction coming from Snowman Slammers. They realized, okay, split push started. Let's just start the dragon and make them come to us. And they made the job of coming into the dragon pit so difficult, like you mentioned. The zoning and the early poke coming down made it a very successful team fight for themselves. Now progressing through the game, it's like the side of Snowman Slammers composition has finally started to sort of sync up. They've got the Ornn to tank a lot of damage and hopefully the Yuumi to mitigate some of that. But once team fights actually start, they have the engage to facilitate it, like we talked about. That part, though, is lacking for UC Berkeley. You could see a bit of lack of engage there in that last team fight. Like you said, Desterux, they have to play the map rather than play these team fights, but that unfortunately means that they might start to fall behind in terms of dragons.
And now Berkeley finally putting down Shelly. Gonna get the charge on the bot lane, the final outer that Berkeley need to conquer. Still continuing with this push thus far, but keep in mind they can't get too split here. Let's call the Forge God.
What's happening?
All going off by his lonesome. Still, though, Berkeley are able to split apart the Snowman Slammers, and they're trying to use this to win this team fight right here. It's working so far as Eugenium's able to grab another, but look at Eric Yang go. He gets low health, he grabs a kill, but finally falls his Uncle Derry, being one of the sole survivors with his pet cat, forced to walk away, and now the siege advantage going over to Berkeley.
Oh, and a very scattered team fight, but more divers available right now for the side of UC Berkeley. They take that team fight. This game back in fourth, but this time swing over to Berkeley, and now control of the map. They're going to take even more vision for themselves and possibly just set up the next play once again.
And it was well played by Berkeley because you took apart Snowman. You didn't let them play as a 5v5 unit. XU did one of the most questionable plays I've seen. He dived 3 people in their own side of the jungle and then walks away and he's like, never mind, I just wanted your attention for a little bit while my team dismantles yours. And yeah, that's what we saw right there. It was just spread and conquer them, and it worked out quite well.
So well, because Jeremy Chu on the Varus, I mean, first of all, he gets popped instantly, but Chaos Vermin very quick to follow going into the pool. It's just a backline evaporating from the side of Snowman Slammers. I'm sure something they did not expect by any means, but just goes to show that even if you do lack on paper engage, I think Eugenium has been such a catalyst for these advantageous team fights, doing a great job of finding a pick here or there and just converting off of it. Entire side of UC Berkeley, they look very different from that game one. The question is it enough to take game 2 and bring them into the final game of the series?
Ooh, they're going to look to find a pick right here. Yang caught out in the jungle, tries to turn it around. Eugenium is here,
Again.
comes in. Out comes the Frozen Tomb Call. The Forge God goes out, but Eugenium gets caught out. Jeremy Chu finds his mark and scores the double. But will it be enough? Chaos Vernon gets the damage in as well to get a kill of his own. But now Legend Achiever, he's all by his lonesome. There's no one to get him out of that one. Chaos with the double. 4 down for Berkeley.
And what looked like a promising engage for UC Berkeley turns right back around over to the Snowman's territory. It was great zoning coming out from Eugenium. The first initial picks coming through, Eric Ziyang dropping instantly. But the rappel was even better coming out from Snowman Slammers. Once again, the AoE damage of the Victor, everyone being lined up from UC Berkeley, so Jeremy Chu able to get a lot of crucial damage as well. And of course, Uncle Derry on the Ornn to facilitate it all. It was beautifully well played, beautiful counter engage. And this game, very far from over, it feels like. Just going back and forth. 2 dragons apiece now. And the gold lead almost evaporating.
I think what this all amounts to is you have to pick your targets carefully. The target there was Eric Ziyang. He's on an Olaf. If you put all your attention there, put all your focus, all your damage there, you have nothing for Chaos Vernon. You have nothing for Jeremy Chu. They're the real threats, and they are who are showing up in these victories for Snowman Slammers. But now looking to catch out Eric Ziyang. It's pushed back by the pillar. The autos are going through, but there's Chaos Vernon. Once again, focused onto Eric Ziyang. Might mean disaster for UC Berkeley as they lose 2 in a heartbeat. Legend Achievers caught out within the Baron pit. Will be able to dash over, but look at this. You just led them to gold. Right now, Snowman Slammers are poised to take this Baron. What will UC Berkeley do about it? Snowman Slammers instead opting to give a little bit more respect over to Berkeley, actually just looking to get a pincer on the Legend Achiever. It's going to be another one picked off as Snowman Slammers are just destroying, dismantling, and annihilating Berkeley in the later half of this game.
And another calamity hitting the side of UC Berkeley. They once again do the exact mistake that you outlined, Destrux. They pick the wrong target. Eric Ziyang, the best bait in the series thus far. He's been doing a great job. The 50-50 perhaps coming through, but XU, the door shut out for him. And this Baron secured 25 minutes in for the side of Snowman Slammers.
Yeah, not playing to their condition. focusing the wrong targets. These things need to end if Berkeley want to make a comeback in this game, because this is still quite dead even. 42 to 44 in gold is not a big difference when we're at the 25-minute mark. It's still very much anyone's game. You just have to play to the win condition. We need to start to see those side lanes open up for Berkeley.
I think what you're just really starting to see now is all these fights that UC Berkeley are picking. It's really just showcasing the tenacity that Yumi gives the composition. Sure, Eric Yang, he gets caught out, but you throw a Yumi on top of him, you give him a heal, and that is a lot recovered overall. Now the push is coming through as Baron buff, of course, in the hands of Snowman Slammers. UC Berkeley, they're put into yet another difficult situation, and they've got to come up with an answer soon.
Yeah, Baron empowered push in the mid lane. It's being answered so far by Berkeley. They do have a bit of a range advantage, a bit of wave clear towards their side, but you still have a lot of that zone control that comes out of the Victor pick. Chaos Ferdinand constantly putting down those lasers and trying to make Priceless Wombat and Eugenium guess where they need to stand next, and that type of pressure is what amounts to this turret going down.
Very easy siege. All the poke coming through. The Varus, Yumi, and Victor able to chunk out a lot of members. And now the final push coming through as this inhibitor tower all but gone.
Ooh, that knockup would have been death for Eugenium right there. Forfeiting this inhibitor, it's the right thing to do. Take a team fight, it's not the right time to go for it. Absolutely fall apart, concede this inhibitor. Let them have that win and let this Baron buff time out. You have to be in good condition for the next Drake.
And in retrospect, honestly, the first time there was that big fumble over making a pick onto Eric Yang for the side of UC Berkeley. Okay, you have to give them maybe a little bit of slack, right? I mean, Olaf in the beginning of the game, he is quite squishy, but as the game progresses, he becomes more and more durable. Maybe it was just a bit of a blurred line for UC Berkeley. The second time, though, that they go for a chase onto Eric Yang, you really just had to wonder, why are UC Berkeley going for such a desperation move when they had a bright future ahead of themselves? Now really just bending at the whim of Snowman Slammers. As this dragon being controlled, third one, but still a big objective. Here we go.
It's not easy to catch Chaos. He does have the cleanse available, but here comes Call the Forge God!
Wow.
Priceless Wombat is run through. Chaos Vernon picks up a kill. Berkeley have to retreat. They have to take their losses and walk away. Otherwise, Snowman Slammers will take everything from them. Only XU remains. Snowman Slammers looking to end this game to the bot lane.
Jeremy Chu on the Varus, showing up time and time again as the sniper the team needs. Able to get the first pick, but the entirety of that team fight, yet another catastrophe hitting the side of UC Berkeley. And while the victory perhaps in reach at some point, it's all despair now.
Yeah, the Nexus Tower is under attack. 5 seconds left on Jason Hugh. Priceless Wombat is back. XU on the defense as well. Legend Achiever showing up. Will find the taunt. There's still a lot of damage over on Snowman Slammers to knock up onto Legend Achiever. Look at XU go, trying to find Jeremy Chu. Forces the flash out of Jeremy Chu. Uncle Derry also starting to get low. Slows come through. The disengage is there. Berkeley still trying to find any stragglers they can. XU taking a lot of damage. Out comes the ultimate. Chaos Vernon dismantles them. Priceless Wombat on the run. Eugenium is back up. XU doesn't even care how this game ends. He doesn't want to watch his base go up in flames as all 5 members of the Snowman Slammers destroy the final Nexus Tower. Nexus is exposed. Throw down that victory sing of the Call of the Forge God. 2-0 Snowman Slammers.
And Snowman Slammers, that last play, just waiting around the corner with a sucker punch. But honestly, it's been very straightforward of a victory for them this entire series. They dominated the first game. Second game, of course, giving a big chance over to the side of UC Berkeley, but small slip up after small slip up. They get the gold lead to a competitive point, and at that spot, that's really when Snowman Slammers really came back into their own. Their backline was formidable on paper, and it finally came to realization there 25 minutes in.
Yeah, and for Berkeley, I really did want to believe they had things going well. They had the early game going to their beat. And then that little slip up you were talking about, those two slip ups,
Yeah.
instead of little, let's use the word big. And instead of slip up, let's use the word Olaf. They would keep trying to lock down Olaf with everything they have. And that would just make Snowman Slammers be like, well, he got away. Well, now it's time for the counter engage. And it all falls apart from there. It happened twice. And that was really the downfall of the Monkeys.
The second time was really difficult to watch because you just saw them all pile in, and the Victor laser comes through and just deals like 70% to pretty much all the members. I really do have to give an honorable mention because although there was really questionable decisions coming out from UC Berkeley, I thought Eugenium was once again a fantastic player. Brought out this Lissandra who right now is in a bit of a gray area. Obviously, she's been getting buffs recently, but at the same time, that's for ratios, not really something that you want to call flavor of the month, but putting on a great performance on her nonetheless. XU, you got to appreciate the aggression that he came out with as well, going toe to toe with Eric Z Yang, but really the entirety of Snowman Slammers. They prove that they are just so good in team fights. And even though the 131 was a prospect available, it just never really found its way into that second game for the side of UC Berkeley.
Yeah, and honestly, that should be first place, all but guaranteed for Snowman Slammers, and a very well deserved one because they look like finals contenders. They have been dismantling every single team in Division Two. UC Berkeley, they've done a great job as well. They're most likely going to be the second seed unless something shifts very dramatically. But Snowman Slammers, hats off to them because you beat a team that just finished winning DreamHack Anaheim. It feels good right now to be the Snowman Slammers, and this is a lot of momentum they're going to take with them once they do get into that playoffs position.
Really, no surprise. I mean, like you mentioned at the start of the series, they have such a standout of a jungler going for themselves, but pretty much every single lane performing very well. I think. I mean, I've been a fan of Uncle Derry for like I'd say a year and a half now because I see him crop up here and there. He's just such a great playmaker of a top laner. He always just holds his own. He's ready in some of those mid game team fights to really deliver on his promise, and he does just that. Jeremy Chu and Magi, they've been hanging around the scene for quite a while as well. They've been a beautiful backline to rely on. And Chaos Vermin, I mean, this is actually the first time I'm actually encountering Chaos Vermin, but he seems like a very high quality player, delivering on some of those Victor AoE damages, and overall, the entirety of the team, they just look so promising and a menace going forward into those playoffs.
So congratulations to the Snowman Slammers for their 2-0 victory, still undefeated in series as well as in games. But that's going to do it here for the casting desk. My name is Eric Deserix Beltran, followed by my co-caster Switch, and of course, a big shout out to our streamer Meowling Cat. We want to thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you again next time on Risen Esports.